might do damage. So with the parking brake released, then check the service brake. After doing that, reapply the parking brake. Okay. Then you check your accelerator pedal to make sure that doesn't stick or bind. Okay? Then you check your transmission controls. You make sure they don't stick or bind in any position. And the last thing that you check in your cab is your safety equipment, which is 3 red reflective triangles, a fire extinguisher, and a little pack of spare electrical fuses. Okay? The triangles and the fire extinguisher are under the seat. The little pack of fuses are in the door. All right. Now, after you check everything in the cab, you turn off the engine and pull the key. You do that for safety reasons. So if you're out checking something under the truck, someone can't get in and not knowing you're there, start the truck and run you over. So that's for safety reasons. So after you check in the cab, pull the key and take it with you. Now, before you get out, put your headlights on and your four-ways. Now, when we get out, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to check all the lights that are controlled with buttons inside the cab. In other words, we're going to get out and we're going to check our headlights, our dimmer switch, our four-ways, and each turn signal in the front before we do anything else. All the lights that you can control inside the cab. So we do that first. Ask the examiner to help you. That way you don't have to keep running back and forth. So we get out and we do that first.
Okay.
All right. As I said, first thing we do when we get out of the truck is we check all the lights that you can control inside the cab. Now once again, get the examiner to help you to save running back and forth. Either you can work them from inside, he can give you a signal or something. All right, as I said, you check your headlights and your four-ways, then you check your dimmer switch. Left and right turn signal. Now, after you check all those lights, before you proceed with the rest of the walk around, turn the headlights off and just leave the parking lights on, because when the parking lights are on, your clearance lights and identification lights and side marker lights will all be on at the same time. So that's what we do now. Those lights you leave on for the whole walk around inspection for obvious reasons, so you can check them as you go around the truck.
Okay.
All right, after your front lights are checked, reopen the hood. And we start our walk around right at this door. Okay?
Oh, no, go ahead.
All right, we start our walk around right at the driver's side door. First thing you check is the driver door window. Make sure that the glass is not damaged. Make sure it's clean. You check the latch on the door, that's not damaged, that it's not sticking or binding, that works properly. Okay, our batteries are right here. Once again, they're not going to have you open that up and check it. They just want to test if you know what you're talking about. So as I said, point, touch it, and explain what you check. All right. You make sure that the battery box is secure. There's 2 batteries inside the box. You make sure that the batteries are secure in the box. You make sure that the batteries aren't damaged or leaking. You make sure that the battery terminals are secure. And we don't have to check the water in the batteries because the city uses all maintenance-free type batteries. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, that takes care of the battery. Now we get on to the wheel. Now, as I mentioned, inside the cab, we work from the top, work our way down. Well, on the wheels, you start at the front, work your way in on all these different systems. That way you're less apt to forget something. And stay on one item until you finish with it. Don't start on a rim and jump to the tire, and don't be on the tire and jump to a brake. Stay on one item until you mention everything that you check on that item before moving on. Okay? All right. So we start right on the outside with our rim. First thing we do, we check for any damaged rims. Okay? Next thing, we check for missing, bent, or broken studs, lugs, or clamps. All right? Next thing we check for is any rust that might be on these lug nuts. That might mean that they're loose. So if we see any rust on any of those nuts, we check it for tightness. Okay? We check for any mismatched, bent, or damaged lock rings, which is this thing. Mismatched meaning the wrong size for the wheel. Dents and damage, that's self-explanatory, all right? We check for a cracked or bent or damaged valve stem right here, all right? And we check for any welding repairs, because you can't use a truck with a wheel that has any welding repairs. All right, that's what we check for on the rim. Now, on rims and tires, it's very important to check both the outside and the inside, because a person flunked the test because he didn't do that. So they expect that from you. So during your test, you must mention that you check the outside of the rim, the inside of the rim, outside and inside of each tire, okay? Now, after we check the outside of the rim for those things that I mentioned, we check the inside of the rim, and about the only thing you can check for on the inside is damage and welds on the inside of the rim, okay? But you must mention that to your examiner, because they expect that from you.
Okay.
A person flunked because they didn't do that. All right, we're done with the rim. Now we move on to the tire, and as I said before, we stay on the tire till we mention everything on the tire that we checked before moving on. All right. Naturally, the first thing you check for on a tire is proper inflation, okay? Then you check for tread wear, all right? You must have a minimum of 4/32 tread depth in the front. You must have a minimum tread depth of 2/32 in the rear, all right? Next thing you check for is any bulges, cuts, or tears on the outside and the inside. Bulges, cuts, and tears. All right. You check for any fabric showing through the sidewall or up through the tread. And you check on the inside of the tire for any fabric showing. You check for tread separation on top. All right. All the tires on the truck have to be the same size. You don't have some smaller than the others or not. They all have to be the same size. All the tires you use all have to be the same type. They all have to either be radials or they all have to be bias ply tires. You can't intermix them, okay? And don't forget, you must check the inside as well as the outside of the tire. Okay, that takes care of the tire. The next system we're going to check. Time out. Gotta go.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The next system we check is the brake system. All right. All right. Now the first thing we check is our brake drum. Now that's on the inside of the wheel. I don't know. Maybe you can.
You can go over there and point if you
rolling?
want. Yeah, go over there.